welcome to another episode of Strictly History. I'm Katie.
I'm Allison.
And today we're going to be talking about two documentaries, Boatlift and Extra Innings, 20 years after 9/11. And we decided to do something on 9/11 because this past Sunday was the 21st anniversary of 9/11, and I feel like we should at least mention it within the context of this podcast. So we're gonna talk about Boatlift and Extra Innings, and we're really going to see how these talk about how these documentaries are profound in the way that it helped people during the event of 9/11 and the healing of New York and the rest of the country after the event. So I guess I will start. I was 11 when 9/11 happened. I was in the 6th grade in the middle of homeroom, and suddenly I started seeing kids whose parents worked down in the city go home early, and I had no idea what was going on until I got home and saw the news.
Yeah, I mean, I was only like four years old,
Mm-hmm.
so it was my first day of preschool, and it was canceled.
Okay.
And I don't remember knowing why. I just remember knowing that it was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked my mom the other day about it, and she just said she told me something bad happened.
Yeah.
But I would have been too young for her to explain
Right.
what actually happened, and
Right.
I wouldn't have understood anyway.
Right.
The gravity of the situation.
Yeah, being 4 years old during the time, I don't think. Yeah. And also, I don't think that you really had to know, also,
Yeah.
being 4 years old.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot to make a decision to explain to
Right.
your young child, you
Yeah.
know, when it's probably hard for you to understand when you're an adult too, you know,
Mhm.
what's going on. So.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? How old were you when 9/11 happened?
I was 3 years old.
Oh wow, so you were even younger.
Yeah, I've got no memory.
Yeah.
Of it, so.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the buildings collapse when on the news, but my mom was at work and she was in the personnel office at her job, and she saw everything happen in real time on the TV that was there. So I'm pretty sure for her that was a traumatic experience. So I guess we can talk about Boatlift first, because I think that's an aspect of 9/11 that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that no one ever knew about it. I mean, certainly didn't know about it until it popped up on my YouTube page, and I was like, oh, what's this? And then I watched it, and I was like, why didn't I know about this, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, and it's almost like it should be a little obvious that a lot of people would have run towards the harbor, because Manhattan is an island.
Yeah.
And you know, it is, and it's true. Like in the narration, it says that a lot of people remembered that Manhattan is an island. And it's like, you know, it's like you forget that Manhattan is in fact an island, and if you were behind the World Trade Center at the time, you wouldn't go towards everything falling down. You would run in the opposite direction like everyone was, and suddenly you're confronted with the harbor.
Yeah, I think in general too, transportation was shut down.
It was.
So even if you could get the other direction, you know.
Yeah,
you were just going to be on foot.
Right.
Unless maybe you could find a car or a taxi, but I'm sure, you know, that wasn't easy.
No, I believe like so many people left on foot. No one was in a car. No one could take the subway. The Penn Station and Grand Central Station were shut down. I mean, the foot traffic alone covered the Brooklyn Bridge. People were walking on highways to get out of the city. So yeah, I don't think anyone thought boats. And I think like the first few boats to go towards the to the river area, I think it was like the river lookout part, of Manhattan Island, and it was ferry boats just taking people on, and then the Coast Guard, and then the Coast Guard made an announcement over the radio to other boats that were in the vicinity to, like, if you can, come and help. And it's really remarkable how many people came at risk of their own lives, because no one knew what was going to come next. No one knew what was going to happen. So it's pretty, it just shows how people can help others when the help is really needed, like, and disregard their own safety.
Yeah, like doing what they can.
Right, exactly.
You know, even if they don't need to.
Right.
Just making other people's lives on a very traumatic day just a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah.
Because once they're on the boat, they don't have to worry how they're going to get home anymore. They know,
Yeah.
they're getting away.
They're off the island. Yeah.
Which is at least something.
Right, exactly. And what I found to be really fascinating about the entire event is that this evacuation was the largest sea evacuation in history. I mean, it even tops the sea evacuation of British and French soldiers from Dunkirk in World War II, which took over the course of 9 days.
Yeah.
This took only took like a few hours.
Yeah, it is incredible what they were able to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. And I think that also just shows this, like, how people, like, the spirit of New Yorkers in general. Like, I really feel like New York City has this reputation of being a very unhospitable place, but in times of crisis, like, the entire city will rally behind whoever needs the help and will help you.
Yeah.
Though I think that's true, though, for, like, not just for New York, but, like, when the Boston Marathon, when the terrorist attacks happened there in Boston during the Boston Marathon, how a city rallied behind the few those who had survived the attack afterwards is just goes to show that people in general can come together when they need to.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually what does happen, when there's a tragic event.
Mm-hmm.
People do come together and do what they can to support each other.
Yeah. And then I think that really ties in well with the other documentary we watched called Extra Innings, 20 Years After 9/11. It's a documentary that came out to mark the 20th anniversary of the event. But it's true how it shows how baseball as America's pastime really, again, came together and helped not only New York City heal, but the rest of the United States heal. And I think that's really prevalent with the fact that we have the New York Yankees in the Bronx and the New York Mets in Queens. I'm a Mets fan. I remember watching Mike Piazza hit the home run during the Braves game. I remember seeing on TV, the Braves and the Mets, who are in fact arch rivals, and would not do this on any other game, but they embraced each other. Mm-hmm. Just like to show, we're with you, we got your back. And then I'm not much of a Yankees fan. I don't like the Yankees. So I mean, it's but Joe Torre, who was the manager at the time of the Yankees, I mean, I don't think he's a New York native. I don't know. But like his adopted home, if he's not a native New Yorker, which I don't think so, but please don't attack me on the internet if I don't know. It's the stories of people who went to both teams' games and just had like that sense of normalcy. I think everybody needed,
Yeah.
because it just the horrors of what happened on 9/11. I think people needed just a night or an afternoon of normalcy just to forget about it. And I feel like that also parallels with people going to the movies during the Great Depression, because it was like a few hours of where they could like just forget about what was going on out there, and then within like a theater they could just you know get away from it. And I feel like that's really true with like everything that's going on is out there in a stadium with everything going on. It's like it's a way to get away from
Yeah.
normal life.
Yeah, and I think it was a thing they mentioned often, like a way to connect to loved ones that they lost.
Yeah.
Which in such a traumatic way to lose someone, I think that's really important. It probably makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's like, how could you feel better? But like for those few hours,
Right.
you have something else to focus on. And
Right. And I feel like for me personally, I don't think I would have been a baseball fan if my dad wasn't a baseball fan. So I understand that connection as well, because it's a parent or a relative or a friend who's, I don't know so much of a friend, but it's a parent who is a fan of baseball or a fan of a team, and they'll tell your kids what their kids like, what's going on and who to root for and all that stuff. So I think for those who had lost parents and family members on 9/11, to go to the stadium and just watch a game for a few hours was really cathartic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of them, that was something that they did with their parents. So it's like, a sense of normalcy.
Yeah. I think one of the interviewees, she had lost her father, who was a New York City firefighter, on 9/11, and she talked about how one time he had taken her and her siblings to, I think it was JFK, and watched the Yankees return from an away game, and he would get like summer tickets for the family to go to see the Yankees play. And so I mean, it's like stories like that I think also are very cathartic, because it's like, well, I have lost this person in my life who is a constant, but like baseball is always constant. And so it's a way of healing, a way of, like I said, getting away from what life has now, what normality of what life has become after 9/11.
Yeah, I also thought it was interesting, like the way most of the players really embraced, the role that they were kind of like thrust into.
I mean, well, the Mets pitcher, one of the Mets pitcher in the 2000 era of the team, Franco, was born and raised in Brooklyn. So I mean, he has very close ties to the city himself personally. I mean, his father was a sanitation worker. So it's to know that his home was essentially attacked must have been very upsetting. Family member, it's he's got close ties in the city.
Yeah.
But I think like to be able to play that season and be there for fans, I think was just equally as cathartic for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, they could do something, feel like they're doing something, like make a difference. And they were making a difference.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's important.
Absolutely. I know that Shea Stadium for the first few days after 9/11 had turned into pretty much a, I don't know what to call it, but like supplies was sent there, T-shirts, food, stuff to help anyone who was down at Ground Zero. They were almost like a waylay station where they would pack up stuff and send stuff over to people down in Ground Zero. And I think Yankee Stadium did the same thing. I think. I don't remember. But I know that Shea Stadium certainly did.
Yeah.
And I know a few of the Yankee players had gone down to the wall where people had posted missing posters of loved ones, and one of the players, not thinking that it was a good idea to go down there because he's a baseball player, he doesn't really have any ties to New York City, why like, is it really appropriate to go down there, and not even having like any sort of training also to be down there, but they went, and he looked at this woman and said, you look like you could use a hug, and she said yes, and he hugged her. So it's like, okay, it's okay for us. It's like that was like the signal that, you know, it's okay to be down there and to help in any way that they could. So it's not like any of the players or the managers had like felt that they needed to keep their distance or were going to keep their distance. They were very much a part of their community.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see that, because of course, just being a watcher on TV of Met games, and being as young as I was, I didn't know what baseball players were doing several days after 9/11. I just knew that they were playing baseball, you know?
Yeah.
So to see it 20 years afterwards, it's really heartwarming.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, the way some players like Derek Jeter like connected with, you know, young children or like young children who, you know, lost parents or lost loved ones, and, you know, did their part, you know, just to make their day a little bit brighter.
Yeah. What I thought was really interesting, how like Bobby Valentine, the former manager of the Mets, had pretty much taken a kid who had lost his dad in one of the towers and became a mentor and father figure to this kid. And I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he did, which is pretty remarkable in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that did surprise me because, you know, I didn't really know much about like the Mets or the Yankees going into this. So that was one part that, you know, really struck me as being a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't have to do anything like that. You know, he didn't know them before.
Right. But like to going to Little League games and being a part of milestones in this kid's life, it's going above and beyond just being a manager for a baseball team.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, back to just people doing what they can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's like I said, it just shows people helping people when there's a massive crisis going on. And another reason why I love baseball so much. I'm not so much of an expert, but I do love watching the game at the stadium, not so much on TV.
I don't think you have to be an expert to love something.
That's true. That's very true. Was there anything about being as that you don't watch baseball a lot, but seeing the Extra Innings documentary, was there anything about that documentary that you found interesting, fascinating?
I mean, I did find it really interesting just in general, the way like the World Series went, because I didn't really know.
Yeah, I stopped watching after the Mets didn't make it to the World Series.
Well,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like, I don't really know much about baseball, like, even now, so I, like, really didn't know, you know, what happened in baseball 20 years ago, but, like, it was very powerful, and even just watching it, like, it makes you emotional, because it's, like, that is, like, you know, a beautiful thing and such a tragic time that there was something people could look to and be excited about. And
it's, even though the Yankees didn't win the World Series that year, they were there. And they were there when I think New Yorkers needed them to be. there, or like Yankee fan, like not even just Yankee fans, but New York team being in the World Series was something I think a lot of people liked and were in. It was a healing moment,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, having your own team to root for,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I also thought was interesting too, the announcer for the Yankee games would always go like "see ya" when the when a home run was hit, and he stopped doing that, and he got a letter on his desk saying, "Why'd you stop doing it? You shouldn't do that, because if you do that, then people are going to know that something is wrong." And then he started saying "see ya" again. And I think that just really harkens back to, like, people come to watch baseball to forget about what's been going on. And if you're going to change how you commentate on a game, it doesn't help the people that come to watch it.
Yeah,
Either in person or on TV.
Yeah, I definitely get, though, that, seems like a difficult thing, initially, because a serious thing has happened. How much, do you try to return to normalcy? Is it okay to be excited about something?
Right.
So I understand why that was, difficult decisions for him to make, but then once someone says, like, no, this is what people want out of baseball right now. They don't want to be reminded that something's changed.
Right.
Yes, I found that interesting too.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? Any questions?
Not off the top of my head right now.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else we would want to say about that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a short episode, I think, because 9/11 for all of us is different, and I don't really think that we can say what happened, because we all know what happened. It's all there for us to go back to and see. But I think just talking about our own experiences of healing, and the documentaries that we watched, and just seeing resilience and hope and stuff like that is helpful. So is there any final thoughts you would like to say, or?
I think more documentaries like that, would be, good to have, good to watch.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of documentaries that you see every year. But seeing something in a different context, I think, was really, nice to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. When I first initially saw the extra innings 20 years after 9/11, I was like, oh, baseball. It's like what, and then I just started watching it, and I'm like, yeah, baseball is America's pastime, and no matter who you root for, it's a way of just enjoying a game and rooting for your team, and I really appreciate that fact that both teams got heavily involved in the community that was so impacted by 9/11. And it's like they didn't try to distance themselves or take a step back or anything, because they were baseball players or managers or what have you. So
yeah, and that was something I think they mentioned in the documentary, that those baseball players, I guess more so than now, really were a part of the community. They were, I think they said, your neighbors.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, for them to be so involved, because they were connected to people,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.